This is 1988, and it's Mansell in the Williams. Williams had lost the Honda engine, which had served them so well, and won them the '87 championship. And you can see that little skinny rear wing here at Germany. Anything to try and make this thing go fast. It was really on a hiding to nothing. It was a normally aspirated car racing against turbos, and had a Judd engine. So, yeah, it was almost a season off. But in 1989, yes, Williams Renault and a new face, Thierry Boutsen, joined the team. Replacing Nigel Mansell, moved off to Ferrari, and his teammate Riccardo Petresi. There's the Renault V10 engine. This is what Frank Williams had to say about it.
Well, it's a moving target. We make progress, but unfortunately they keep making progress as well. We don't seem to close the gap. But it's the challenge, and I mean that team is doing nothing short of a brilliant job. And the people who beat them are going to get a lot of applause because they're going to be very good as well. Everything in racing changes, nothing stays the same. I hope that situation you're referring to will eventually change.
When you take each individual element, how do you think the V10 Renault engine is shaping up against the Honda?
I think very well, and I say that because we received the first Honda V10 as a mock-up at Williams and Didcot in May '87. And the man who does that talk, he said to Patrick, oh, the engine's not going so well, many problems. And that was 2 years ago. The Renault ran only about a year ago. So my point is it's running, in terms of time and development time, quite a way behind the Honda, so one shouldn't expect too much to begin with. But the French are covering their ground very fast.
So you're basically pleased with the way things are going?
I would say so. We're impatient, but we're pleased, yes.
Oh, that brings us to Canada. The Ile de Notre Dame, the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, for the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. I really dig this track. Here's the Benetton. This is Johnny Herbert. He would unfortunately fail to qualify for this race. And his teammate Alessandro Nannini was all the way down in 13th, which is important for later on because he's going to be looking for a way through. Prost, for a change, took pole position. It had all been Senna in the other McLaren. Here's what Alain had to say about that.
You know, it's difficult to tell. He's in qualifying for sure the best, and very, very difficult to beat. So I beat him in qualifying at least once, sometimes. And normally when I'm very close from him in qualifying, I'm a little bit better shape in race condition. So I'm quite confident, but it's a difficult race, bad fuel, bad tires, bad brakes, to be very tough.
But first, before the Grand Prix, there's the important race. The teams build their own craft and race across the Olympic rowing lake. And yeah, some have not so much success. This is a tradition in Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix, and it went away for a few years, and I believe it's back now. Yeah, there you go. Some craft sank. Williams actually won this one, which is yeah, foreshadowing. And McLaren, well, they didn't win. The morning warm-up was wet. And that's Michele Alboreto in the Tyrrell. He found out just how wet it was. This is the parade lap now, the warm-up lap, if you will. Stefano Modena, our camera car here in the Brabham. You can see him, he's got a cloth in the car wiping his visor. This is old school Formula One, man. And yeah, it was wet, but Nigel Mansell, he decided, no, it's dry. And he came in for slick tires. And so would the aforementioned Alessandro Nannini. Starting 13th on the grid, remember, he decided, yeah, I'm also going to take a gamble and go for the slick tires in the wet. But there was a problem here. They would now have to start from pit lane. And you can see no problems with the pit stops for either Mansell or Nannini, and some Goodyear slicks going on there. They go off to there goes Mansell. You go off to the end of pit lane, but they only saw an orange flashing light instead of a red or green light. And they decided, well, Mansell decided the race has started, and Nannini decided, well, I'll just follow him. And unfortunately, there they go through the first corners there, and if you look back there, the other guys are still waiting on the grid. Drama even before the start.
Mansell and Nannini have gone round to rejoin. Now this is an incredible situation because they will be starting a full lap back, but on the move, and as the lights go to green, Prost is in the lead, and Patrese is coming up right alongside Senna, who closes up on Prost back in second position, and at the hairpin it is Prost, Senna, Patrese and Berger going round in the Ferrari and coming up to take the Williams, and it is still Prost, Senna. Let's see who's through in third position. Is Patrese still in third position? Then it is Berger.
I think there's a little bit of a nudge there at the second corner between Berger and Patrese, and it was well held by Patrese. The back swung out on his car, he caught it well, but to me it's very surprising that Mansell and Nannini went out of the pits at all. I'm sure they would have been better off to have started off, because they can't have been more than halfway around the lap when the race was started. Why they didn't wait in the pits and take it from there, I don't know. I'm also very surprised indeed that a lot more other drivers didn't go straight in, and we gather that Pierluigi Martini also went into the pits and changed onto slicks, because this circuit is going to be in slick conditions, well it is already, and the whole of it will be in slick conditions within 2 or 3 laps.
Drama at the start there, and if you have a look here, Stefano Modena, our cameraman, he gets his right wheels up on the grass here and spins it around. He knocked out the Minardi of Pierluigi Martini, and well, the feed was disconnected and we didn't have a camera car for the rest of the race. Not every car had a camera in those days. 89, there's Pierluigi Martini walking away. There's a wrecked Minardi. Senna was catching Prost, well not catching, they were catching Nannini, Prost was catching him.
There is Nannini, who changed his tyres. Prost behind him is leading. Senna is in second place, the two of them pulling away from Riccardo Patrese, who you will see come up in a moment. He is in third position on the Williams, and this is going to be an extremely confusing race, and Senna goes through. Ayrton Senna goes through on the second lap to take the lead from Alain Prost, who goes into the pits. And as I was saying, this is going to be a tremendously confusing race to follow because of the tyre changes.
And I think Prost has done the right thing, and I think Senna will maybe pay for not following him into the pits.
So it was Ayrton Senna in the lead now after Prost pitted for tyres. He went onto the slicks, and that would prove to be painful. He somehow managed to damage his suspension as Senna went past Nigel Mansell, who had been black flagged, by the way. Prost came into the pits and he had suspension damage. He was out of the race. He somewhere must have nicked the wall or something that we never got to see that. Mansell and Nannini were black flagged and disqualified. Here is Stefan Johansson in the Onyx. Now the mighty have fallen from driving for Ferrari. He had an air hose attached to his car and he had to come back in as Senna decided, nope, Prost was right, it's time to stop for slick tyres. So that left the two Williams cars of Patrese, Boutsen, and the Ferrari of Berger out there on wet tyres, and they were tied together with a piece of string, as they say, but Patrese would pull away.
And Riccardo Patrese, the surprise of 1989, with 2 second places and a record lap in Brazil, is in front as Berger challenges Boutsen and takes that second place from him. Gerhard Berger up into second place. That's the highest he has been this season. Now, this is where the automatic gearbox of the Ferrari could well pay dividends, and you see the McLaren in the background in fourth position, and that gearbox could pay dividends because it is a much smoother change than you get with a manual box, and you can see how Berger on this, the 5th lap, is pulling away from Thierry Boutsen and closing up on Riccardo Patrese. I think before very much longer we're going to see, for the first time since Brazil, a Ferrari in the lead, with this time Gerhard Berger at the wheel rather than Nigel Mansell.
So not a lot of laps had passed by, but the pit lane was getting busy. both Leighton House Marchers came in, as well as Nelson Piquet in the Lotus. Gulden there in the March, he stopped, and his teammate Capelli had to go around again. René Arnoux and Gabriele Tarquini, they tangled. But he was okay out of the race, but all right. All right, so Senna, he was chasing down the two Williams cars as Gerhard Berger had just disappeared. It was the Ferrari gearbox had let down poor Gerhard. Ferrari had a lot of gearbox retirements in 1989 with that semi-automatic pedal shift system. It was brand new and still figuring out the kinks, you know. Patrese had finished the previous two races in second place and he was going for it. You can see there's not much difference between this 89 Williams and the 88. The only real big difference is the engine. But it's still using the old 88 car. It looks very different from the Williams of the 90s. Same color scheme, but different.
And we seem to have lost Gerhard Berger, and I don't know where he's gone. We can't see the pits from our commentary position, and there is Gerhard Berger, so he was indeed lost. He was challenging Riccardo Patrese for the lead.
So it was a running order, and Ayrton Senna was the only man in that top back bunch there that had the slick tyres on.
Meantime, Williams Renault leads. Williams Renault second. There is the leader. There is his teammate. He being Riccardo Patrese, number 6 in first position, and his teammate being the Belgian Thierry Boutsen in second place. And Senna is still running on slick tyres in very wet conditions, and he surely must be coming into the pits. But in third position, it was Senna until he's gobbled up by somebody, which is going to be happening any moment now with Derek Warwick up into fourth place.
I think probably what Senna is doing is, having made the change, is hoping that the rain will stop pretty quickly. The circuit still isn't too wet, and hope that he doesn't have to change back. But this race is turning really into a bit of a lottery because the weather is so changeable, it's impossible to predict it, and luck is going to play a very important part in this race, as well as judgment.
Murray Walker there, jumping the gun, insisting that Senna was on the wrong tyres. Thierry Boutsen, though, decided he was on the wrong tyres, and he pitted for slick tyres here, as Senna was really catching up to Patrese, showing his brilliance and his genius in these kind of conditions. So Senna was catching as the track started to dry, but then it started to rain again, and a big crash for Luis Parisala.
That's a 150-mile-an-hour corner, and he slammed into the barrier very, very hard indeed. But mercifully, it was sideways, and it's raining again. So if Patrese can hang on those wet weather tyres, the gap between himself and Senna, no matter how brilliant Senna is bound to increase.
And Senna had done a great job of catching up. There was a little battle forming here,
Now
though.
there is Cathy, who has passed Alio, and De Cesaris, who is following Alio. The two Delaras, and De Cesaris goes through.
Well, this race really is a nightmare. I mean, it's raining one minute, not raining the next. What do you do? Because 1 minute you've got the flavour of the month if you're on wet tyres. The next minute you've got the flavour of the month if you're on dry tyres.
So with both Ferraris and both Benettons out of the race, the other guys in the slower cars were having a great day.
That's Alio going off. Well, Alio, who crashed in the warm-up, has got problems here. And meantime, Derek Warwick is catching Senna. The gap between them is only 15 seconds now. Patrese has extended his lead over Senna.
Now, Derek Warwick in the Arrows, he was in second place and was about to inherit first place from Senna, because Senna would definitely have to pit as the rain was really starting to come down hard. And Senna was still out there on the slick tyres, doing a great job, honestly, just to keep it on the circuit. And look, this is why we have safety cars nowadays, to remove cars. Look at this. I mean, if that falls off, Thierry Boutsen, he was back in the pits. He said, no, those slicks are no good. It's time for the wet tyres. It's raining hard now. He went back onto the wet tyre, and that dropped him quite a ways down the field. Wow, pit stops took long in the 80s.
That you're looking at now in second position to 10 seconds. So there's 25 seconds between Patrese, the leader, Senna and Derek Warwick in third position. And Senna, you can see he really has got problem. That will be a problem of grip. That's not a driver error, and he hasn't done himself any good picking up the wet there.
Well, it is a driver error, though, to be fair. I mean, he braked too late, and because in fairness, he knows the conditions are changing all the time, and therefore you have to leave yourself a little leeway, but it was a very small error. He controlled it well, got the car on the move again, and lost probably no more than 2 seconds in that manoeuvre.
Yes, so Senna, James Hunt, what a legend. Now, Roberto Moreno, in a Coloni that car was, he lost a wheel. Ivan Capelli in the March, he lost it and spun out, and he crashed exactly where, in fact, he crashed into poor old Gabriele Tarquini's car, which was still there.
And I saw Warwick dart out of the picture there.
No, Senna has finally gone to the pits. I think Senna made for the pits, and sure enough, there is Senna. So he's finally had to give up, give best and go for wet weather tyres, but being on a fresh set of wets may not be too bad a thing.
Now look at this. This is Nicola Larini going through to take a place from the Dallara of Andrea De Cesaris, and therefore up into now third position. Temporarily, I may be, because the real fight in this race in terms of wheel-to-wheel combat is between the two Dallaras of Caffey De Cesaris and Nicola Larini's Osella.
Thierry Boutsen had time for a good old 360. Didn't lose any position. Riccardo Patrese, he decided it was time to come in and pit. He had been on these wet weather tyres since the beginning of the race and needed a new, fresh set. But he had some under-tray damage as well. He had gone off, and just trying to get on new tyres, get some more grip. While Derek Warwick led a Grand Prix in an Arrows. Really good to see, but it was ominous in his mirrors. There was Ayrton Senna in the wet. There's no stopping the man. There's no chance Derek Warwick was ever going to be able to hold off the Honda-powered McLaren there of Senna, and Senna breezed through into the lead. And look at this, using all the road and more, and off he went. Andrea De Cesaris hadn't crashed yet. He was trying really, really hard to crash, but he didn't succeed there. And then unfortunately Derek Warwick had an engine problem, and his brilliant drive came to an end. Very sad for Warwick.
And Derek Warwick out! Derek Warwick off course, having led the race and dropped to second position. Now obviously out. Here is a replay of whatever happened. It seems to me he must have lost it, but we'll soon see. No, he just turned straight off the course. What appalling luck when he was higher up than he had been for years.
Yes, what a great shame, because the one thing you don't expect to have in the wet really is mechanical problems, because of course you're not able to use full power for a long time. You can't strain the brakes or transmission in the way that you can on a dry track, and really that is a shame.
Yeah, great shame for Derek Warwick. One day, a great driver who never quite made it into the top teams in Formula One. Nelson Piquet was fighting out in the Lotus. Chance for him to get up in the points. And Senna, this would have pleased Ayrton Senna. He was coming around to lap Nelson Piquet, his fellow countryman, and their own bit of a rivalry.
And that is Andrea De Cesaris, who is still in that fourth place. And only just in the 4th place. Absolutely on the ragged edge, going off almost.
Going off, a fine piece of rallycross there by De Cesaris, rather entertaining. He just seemed to, here we go, and we get a chance to see this masterly piece of rallycross driving yet again. Now he's no longer on the prepared surface, he's grass cutting, but to his credit, at least he kept the car straight, bounced it around a bit, and continues almost with undiminished speed.
Yeah. De Cesaris trying really hard to crash.
Now we're going to see something interesting. Piquet is catching Danner, who is in 8th place. Piquet's 5th, and Danner is the slowest man of these 4. And you can see already that Patrese is up with Piquet. Boutsen is up with Patrese. They're all 3 of them catching Danner. Piquet is passing the German now and is through. Boutsen goes through. Thierry Boutsen up into 2nd place ahead of Patrese. So, Boutsen took his opportunity.
Yeah, Patrese struggling with that under-tray damage, and Boutsen spotting a gap, going for it and taking 2nd place. As they came up to lap Piquet, who was lapping Danner, all out of order, and yeah.
And Senna stopped. Senna is in trouble, and could this be fuel? The speed was marginal for the race. Senna out of the race with only 2 or possibly 3 laps to go.
What a sensational development for the 2nd race in succession. Ayrton Senna retires, but this time in the lead.
Yeah, it wasn't fuel, that was in fact an oil leak.
Thierry Boutsen comes out of the last corner of the last lap to win the Canadian Grand Prix, his first ever victory. Very shortly, he's coming down now, and his heart must be beating wildly because he knows that there's only a few hundred yards left now between himself and not only his first victory, but his first ever 9 points as a result of it. The Williams has, as far as I know, it sounded crisp, and there he goes. Boutsen has won the Canadian Grand Prix. And an exultant wave of the hand, an enormous fillip for Williams and for Renault. Here is Patrese coming in to make it not only 1st, but also 2nd for Williams and Renault. Patrese's 2nd place in succession. A really superb achievement by this veteran. De Cesaris 3rd, Piquet 4th.
Yeah, the miracle of this race. Andrea de Crasherus, as they called him, actually managed a podium. But a great result for the Williams Renault team. 1-2. Thierry Boutsen, the race went just over 2 hours, was almost cut off. And there you go, finished off the points by Piquet Arnoux and Alex Caffey in the Delara. So, yeah, great day all round. And it's always cool to see the lesser teams managing to get up into the points. Especially when there were only points for the first 6 places, and there were 36 cars on a Friday morning to pre-qualify. And here's what Boutsen had to say.
Very happy that the car lasted so well, didn't have any problem with the car during the race, and really pleased with the effort that Renault have put into this engine now to get it very competitive and to make us able to win races.
So what's it like to win the first Grand Prix?
Fantastic.
This is a good sign for our team. We finished 1st and 2nd, and we are getting stronger and stronger. So it means that McLaren has to work even harder because for sure they don't like to lose races, but we are there, we are catching them.
Yeah, so there you go. Boutsen and Patrese are very happy. Look at the crash. He's trying to crash on the podium now. He was so happy to actually finish on the podium. De Cesaris, great job. So that's it, guys. Williams Renault and Thierry Boutsen's first ever Grand Prix win, Canada in 1989. Guys, until the next video, have a great weekend and have a good time all the time. And I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers for now.